The Introduction to The Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee book by Jerry Seinfeld. I almost feel like I should apologize for the idea of comedians in cars getting coffee, because it was really just a very personal concept of something I enjoyed doing. I had no idea at any point if it was even really a show. Even the way I announced the show at the top. I'm Jerry Seinfeld, and this is Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I was actually kidding, just pretending it was a real show. So many times after we would spend a couple of hours shooting this nonsensical talk between me and a favorite comedian of mine, driving around in some marvelous, idiosyncratic car, and just going for coffee, I would ask one of the people on the crew, "Does this seem like an actual show to you?" Or, "What is this? What are we doing?" Even after people started imitating the idea, which I never had any problem with, I loved it. I was never quite sure about it. And of course, that is the whole fun of a new idea. You don't know exactly what it is or where it's going. Just as the song says, the world will always welcome lovers. The world is always starving for a new idea. The most important word I used in putting this thing together was Valentine. Most significantly, it was a Valentine to the comedians I have been so fortunate to have surrounding me in this lifetime. I thought this aspect of a life in comedy was somewhat unreported in a lot of what is written about comedy. And it is a very, very large part of the comedy aquarium in which I live. Comedians never, ever stop making fun of absolutely every single detail of every aspect of the human life travail. So my idea was, how can I show what this part of comedy life is? Many shows have tried to examine and understand comedians in various ways, and it's really pointless, unenlightening, and most egregiously no fun. What if I figured out a way to bring the viewer along on a bit of comedy, hang time, but filtered it down to mostly the jokes and whatever else has some thought value? I'm not much for podcasts. I think virtually everything in life could do with a good edit. Your closet, your diet, your conversation, everything. That's what a beautifully put-together stand-up set is. It's, I have a lot of funny and interesting thoughts. Here's the best ones. I'd use a classic car because they have more personality, like comedians do, and I also just wanted to see what some of them were like to drive. And the activity would be going to get coffee, because that has a certain meaning and a meaninglessness that gets comedians thinking and talking. I always thought getting was an important part of the title phrase. It wasn't having or drinking coffee, we're getting it. I think that's a real distinction. Someone handing you a coffee is not at all the same thing as them saying, "Hey, would you like to go get a coffee?" That question is really a way of saying, I like you enough to do absolutely nothing with. No higher compliment to my way of thinking. The other odd thing is I only started drinking coffee a few years before I started doing the show, and that was only because I had young kids and didn't have the time to have meals with people anymore. But there was always time to grab a coffee. All the coffee shop scenes in the Seinfeld series, I never knew anything about coffee or why people drank it. Now 90% of my existence revolves around the wondrous brown gold liquid, and I've never been happier. The magic of coffee is the complexity of growing it, farming it, transporting it, grinding it, brewing it, pouring it, and assembling it to your personal liking. I love all the ingredients and tools necessary. Try to have that first taste of coffee in the morning and not make an audible sound of gratification. Can't do it. Similarly to the way I see the cars in the show, I don't view coffee as an inanimate. I see it as a companion. I never feel alone if I have a coffee in front of me. It has so many life-affirming properties. I once said in an interview, "We want to do a lot of stuff, but we're not in great shape, don't get a good night's sleep, and we're a little depressed. Coffee solves all these problems in one delightful warm cup." Okay, the cars. I'm not going to talk too much about the cars, because if you're not an automotive enthusiast, cars are an unbelievably boring subject. I try to keep the impressions of the cars very brief at the front of the show for this reason. How a person could not be interested in cars, I'll never understand. They're such large, important, fascinating objects. They have so many difficult, complex functions they must perform perfectly, 100% of the time, or people hate them violently. They're a perfect fit with the comedians and the coffee. The reason I love cars is each one's personality always expresses a moment in mechanical history and culture. People did really seem to enjoy how I would match the car to the guest comedian. That was so easy. Every car is so unique to me, and so much like a person, and always trying to please, so often failing. Discovering and describing the world is the only reason I can see for trying so hard to continue living, because those perceptions are the entryway for loving the world and the life in it. And again, a car is an inanimate object that makes me feel not alone. I've never felt lonely in a car. I'm with something that's got a lot going on. Now the comedians. As humans go, comedians are as close to inanimate objects as you can get. The ability to perceive and describe the human experience in such an entertaining way does not by any means make the comedian a part of that experience. The thing I notice about every comedian is they do not seem to be part of the terrestrial world. They move perceptually, like an alien spaceship, like quickness and unpredictability. They flit and spark in unexpected directions at unexpected moments. And if they're any good, you can never quite track what direction they're going to go next. Good comedy bits are short, dense, and always catching you a little off guard. People cannot move this adroitly on the ground, only in the air. This is always what we seek to capture in an episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Since I know so many comedians, and most people don't know any, I felt perfectly positioned with my video butterfly net to try to show them in their unpackaged, natural state. That's the other weird thing about the work of creating these shows. What you are seeing is incredibly raw and totally manufactured at the same time. The video footage, of course, starts out raw, but by the time we edit, shape, reorder, and in a couple of very rare cases, fake what you are hearing and seeing, it has become a very polished piece of whatever the hell this thing is. I swear to God, sometimes I still don't even know. I do know I loved making every single one of them. I love and am so appreciative of every comedian who joined us for a nice drive and a coffee. And also so want to thank my production team, who did whatever I asked every time, even when there really was no way to do it. To all of them, and to you, our loyal, generous audience, thank you for letting us give you this very special Valentine. And I'll include an exchange with Eddie Murphy. This is from page 108. Eddie: "Did you like Titanic?" Jerry: "Yeah, sure." "That's Gravity. It's the same movie." "It is the same movie." "It's the same movie, like Planet of the Apes. Did you like The Wizard of Oz?" "Oh, I love The Wizard of Oz." "Planet of the Apes is The Wizard of Oz." "It is?" "Think about it. The movie starts off, she wants to go over the rainbow. Right? And Charlton Heston. There's got to be something better than man. She gets hit on the head and goes to sleep. He takes his shot, he goes to sleep. They wake up in this strange place. She meets munchkins, he meets monkeys, and at the end, You were home the whole time. God damn you all to hell. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Same movie. Wow. And I was such an ape maniac that I remember when the last whipping I got was, they had Go Ape for a Day in Hampstead, Long Island. They're going to show all 5 ape movies back to back. I went by myself in the morning, and I watched all those movies twice. Wow. Twice. I sat there for 10 ape movies. And when I got out, it was dark, and I went home, and my mother gave me my last whipping because I went on some ape movie marathon. Go Ape for a Day, is that what they called it? Go Ape for a Day. I remember riding out to Roosevelt Field. So there was Escape, there was Beneath. Beneath was first. Beneath was the second one. Beneath is before Escape. The first is Planet of the Apes. Then it's Beneath, right? Planet, Beneath, then it's Escape. Then it's Escape. Then it's Conquest. Then it's Battle. Then it's what? Battle for the Planet. But you know, chimps have done such horrible stuff since then. I'm sure they were doing it back then also, but we didn't know about. Chimps. Chimps ripping people's faces off. Oh, yeah. I think when we were kids, apes were cool because they looked like us, but they had these other, we didn't know they were ripping people's faces. No, we didn't know about that. Curious George, right. Yeah, Curious George attacking somebody. Yeah, we didn't know he was curious about what your head looked like without a face. I'm just curious. Well, thank you for listening. I really enjoy the Audible book of this. It's a lot deeper and smarter than I expected it would be, which is on me, I guess. Anyway, I hope you like the recordings that I do. I started this channel to really just to read to a specific person. Someone named Deborah, who used to live in the U.S. and is now over in one of those snow countries across the pond. And I enjoyed reading to her and talking to her, and then I guess it was so much fun that we had to stop. And I recorded less after that, and it's kind of there's not much motivation to do this, at least in me, because I got I think now I have about 575 followers, almost, and generally a video might get double digits views, but not too much, and maybe a few likes, and once in a while a comment, which is not too motivating. I'm kind of a introvert, I guess. At least I'm forced into that by my personality. But I don't know, and it makes me realize how I watch videos. I don't, cause I used to just listen or watch, and not care if I liked it or not, or left a comment. And of course, when you do these things yourself, you're like, oh, that would be nice. So I try to do that more, but not too much more, I don't think, than I used to. But I try to do that and let people know that I like what they do. And this stuff doesn't just magically appear. Sometimes I'll be a guy with a record player recording old records and then uploading and cleaning them up before he puts them up, or old, videotape of interviews from whoever, Buckminster Fuller or Gorby Dahl or Christopher Hitchens, or stuff from C-SPAN. And it's wonderful to be able to see it. And anyway, this has made me tell people more that I appreciate what they've done. But I don't know. It's I was hoping that, as with my friend, I would like particular things, and I like other weird things, and she seemed to like just about most of the things I like. And I thought the channel would do that. People would listen to other things I recorded, but mostly, if I get comments, it's from reading Pauline Kael, which is great to read. But I kind of hoped I would lead people to try these other things, but it doesn't seem to have worked out too well. So I'll not record for a while, and then I'll say, oh, I'm going to record this one thing, and I do. And I will just thank you for listening to all these, for the ones that you have. But I do thank those of you who comment and like and that. Thanks.